Welcome back to our maths lesson on the major topic number. So far, we have managed to look at types of numbers. We've done board mass. We've looked at multiples, factors, powers, and roots. We did prime factors, HCF, and LCM, and we had a very big lesson looking at fractions, decimals, and percentages. And now we want to look at negative numbers. Negative numbers is very important. They are slightly tricky, and if we don't get the fundamentals of negative numbers, it can haunt us in subsequent lessons when we are having to grapple with negative numbers. So I'm dedicating this short lesson to looking at negative numbers. Negative numbers. Of course, no one wants to be negative, right? No one wants to be negative. We all want to remain positive. But negative numbers are part of life. We will encounter them. Okay. For instance, if you go to a shop and there is a discount, it's actually a negative being applied to what you should have paid. And so ultimately, you get to pay less money than you originally would have had to pay. So negative numbers have their place in the real world. And it's very important that as students of mathematics, we understand the concept of negative numbers. And so that is what this lesson is dedicated to. How do we handle negative numbers? They are tricky, they can be annoying, they can be confusing, but once we know how to handle them, we can do very well in it. So let's look at this major topic, negative numbers. So we talked about negative numbers when we were having an overview of all the numbers we would encounter in mathematics. So real numbers, and then under real numbers, rational numbers, and irrational numbers. Under rational numbers, we talked about integers. And whenever we mention integers in maths, the thing that often comes to mind is the number line. Okay. So in the number line, you have zero staying right in the middle. Everything to the right is positive numbers. 1, 2, 3. But anything to the left is negative numbers. Okay. So on the number line, the numbers that are usually left to the zero are negative numbers. And what is interesting about negative numbers? They are counterintuitive. Okay. When you have a positive number, the bigger numbers are the 3, 4, and 5. So for instance, 4 is bigger than 3, and so on. 6 is bigger than 4. But when you come to the negative numbers, the negative of a bigger number is actually smaller. What I mean is, if I have negative 6 and I have negative 1, normally 6 is bigger than 1. But on the negative side, the bigger the magnitude of the negative, the smaller it is in its quantity. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. And it's counterintuitive. We are so used to big numbers being big. Then all of a sudden we go to the country of negative numbers, and a big number is actually a small number in that country. And so it can become a little bit tricky to wrap our head around it. But that is the purpose of this lesson. We should feel confident about negative numbers and be able to do well with it. So with negative numbers, there are some rules that I quickly want us to go through. So first, operations with negative numbers, adding negative numbers, subtracting negative numbers. Let's quickly look at them. Adding, subtracting negative numbers. Now, what I usually tell my students about negative numbers is if you are ever confused about negative numbers, quickly draw a number line and try and complete your operation on a number line. As simple as that. Or in fact, I can use something to draw a better number line. Okay. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the positive zone. -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. This is the negative zone. So negative numbers. Adding negative numbers. So for instance, I give you -5 plus 4. How do you handle this? It's very simple. I know at your level, this is very easy. You did a lot of this in primary school, but we'll be building up on this gradually, and soon you will see that it's becoming a bit tricky. What can you do? -5 plus 4. Okay, you have two options to solve this using the number line, and it's very simple. You can either begin by standing on +4 on the number line and then move 5 steps to the negative zone to cater for that. Or you can start on -5 on the number line and move towards the right 4 steps to see where you land. So let's look at it. The first one, I will put myself here. So that is the +4 bit. And I'm coming to take 5 steps to the left because this direction is negative and it says I should be heading into the negative zone. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I land on -1. So the answer to -1 plus 4 is, -5 plus 4 is -1. Okay. Or I could have done it the other way. I find myself on -1, -5, and because it is +4, I need to take 4 steps heading into the positive zone. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And I find myself here again at -1. Okay. So what I tell my students who usually find it confusing to add or subtract negative numbers is you can quickly draw a number line, put some numbers on it, and then take the steps as you move, and you can quickly find your answer. But as we go through more and more problems, solving them together, you will see that you will be able to quickly add or subtract negative numbers. Now let's try again with another one. We will make use of this number line. This time, two negative numbers. -3 minus 2. -3 minus 2. How do we do it? We have two options. We can either stand on -2 and move 3 steps into the negative zone, or we can stand on -3 and move 2 steps into the negative 2. Either way, we'll get the same answer. Let me start by standing at -3 and moving 2 steps into the negative zone. So I stand here 1, 2. I find myself here. So minus 3 minus 2 becomes minus 5. Okay. But you can't always have the time to do a number line to move, especially when you are dealing with bigger numbers. If I came and I said minus 36 minus 41, what are you going to do? Are you going to draw a long number line to count all the steps? That is not possible. So let's learn how to do that. Now, minus and minus, when you have minus and minus, first, ignore the minuses. Okay. When you have two negatives and you are dealing with them, like minus 36 minus that, ignore the minuses and pretend as if you are doing addition. Add them. And because both of them are minus and minus, now bring the minus. So minus 36 minus 41 becomes what? Minus 77. It's very easy when you have two minuses interacting. Just forget about them, the minuses, add them, and then bring the negative sign for the total that you get. So simple as that. How about 36 minus 41? 36 minus 41. This is also very easy. Take 36 out of 41. Whatever you get, apply the negative sign to it. Okay. Apply the negative sign to it. Now, let's go to addition, multiplication and division of negative numbers. There is a concept that we have to be familiar with. Once we know that, we can apply it, and then it should be easy for us to multiply or divide negative numbers. So this is simple. I'll keep it simple. Positive times positive is equal to positive. Negative times negative is equal to positive. Positive times negative is equal to negative. Negative times positive is equal to negative. Now, what is happening here? When the signs are uniform, you end up getting a positive outcome. So it doesn't matter whether it's positive or negative. When the signs interacting, and this is also valid for division, by the way. This is also valid for division. Negative. The signs are uniform. When they interact, when they multiply, or when they divide, you end up getting a positive outcome. It's only a problem when there is a conflict, a plus trying to interact with a negative, multiplication or division, of course. Then that one, you get a negative outcome. A negative trying to interact with a positive, you get that outcome. So have that in mind. When they are on the same plane, the outcome is positive. So it doesn't matter whether they are negative or positive. If two people interacting are negatives, the outcome is always positive. And it's so in life. If you have weird friend and a weird friend, they get along well, and the outcome between them is usually positive. So once you have this in mind, it should be easy for you to divide or multiply any negative numbers. The last thing that I want us to look out about negative numbers is um, powers and roots. powers and roots. Okay. I want you to keep this in mind once and for all. It will save you from a lot of trouble. Usually, when we talk about powers and roots, we've already done it. We ignore some very important members in this family, negative numbers. Okay. What do I mean? If I come and I say, what is the root 64? I told you we should learn to memorize the first 10 or 12 powers and roots. If I say, what is the answer to root 64? What will you say? Oh, it's easy. It's 8. And you leave it there. Okay. But strictly speaking, a good student of mathematics will tell you that the root of 64 is 8 or -8. Why? Because when I multiply -8 by -8, I also get 64. Therefore, the root of 64 can be +8 or it can be -8. Okay, so strictly speaking, if I ask you what is root of 64, your answer should be ±8. Okay, it can be either, and either is correct. Either 8 or -8 is correct. The same thing when you are having the square of a negative number, -8 square is 64 because -8 times -8 is 64. Okay, the same thing. So have this in mind. If someone asks you, what is the root of 100? If you are an average student, you say 10, yeah, and you are right. If you are an excellent student, you say it's ±10. So that is one thing I want you to fix on your mind as we go through our math journey together. Okay, root of positive numbers are actually plus or minus whatever root that you get. It's not just simply the positive one. Okay, so if I come, so you can have an MCQ, multiple choice question, and I say find the root of 25. And then I'll give you some numbers. A, 3, B, 4, C, 8, D, -5, and E, 7. A student will come and say, I didn't find the answer. No, the answer is -5. It's right here. Okay. And it can be used to test your knowledge about this thing. That's why I'm taking time for you to know that as we are talking about negative numbers, how to handle negative numbers, root numbers, root of positive numbers are plus or minus whatever root that you get. So always have that in mind. And if you are called upon to give an answer to the root of 81, don't just say 9. Say the root of 81 is plus or minus 9. Okay. We will bring our lesson to an end here. Thank you very much. And this brings us to the end of our first major topic, number 1. There is also number 2, where we look at some other more advanced number behavior. But here we have come to the end of this major topic, number part 1. And what have we achieved so far? We know everything we need to know for our level as far as types of numbers are concerned. We've done that. Then we've looked at BODMAS, and there were some tricky bits in handling resolving BODMAS based problem. We have looked at that. We've clarified that already. We've clarified that. We looked at multiples, factors, powers, and roots. We defined them. We we try to explain what it means. We looked at prime factors, HCF and LCM. And here, the biggest thing I want you to remember is when you have to find an LCM for big numbers and you don't have a calculator or you are not allowed a calculator, you should be able to use an advanced method that I explained in lesson 4 to find LCM of big numbers. We had a very long lesson unpacking fractions, decimals, and percentages. And we had a short lesson introducing negative numbers and how they can be handled in math. So we've come to the end of this major topic. Our next major topic will be number part 2. Number part 2. And I'll show the subtopics that we'll be looking in that. Thank you very much and enjoy your day. If you have found these lessons useful, why not share the link with others or invite other students to come and subscribe and have access to all these lessons? As you will attest, no one is patient this much taking you through a lesson online. My aim is for you to feel as if I'm having a one-on-one lesson with you. So I've taken time, been very patient, try to explain things to the barest level so that once you understand it at the barest level, you can build upon it and soon you'll be solving more complex problems. Have a good day and let's meet again when we start exploring our second major topic, number 2. Thank you. Bye.